Shall we dance to the music? Hello. Hopefully we're live. Hello and welcome to a very special episode 50 of the ugvm podcast. I'm your host Andy Kavanagh, but you can call me DK. And in case you hadn't noticed, this month we're in both your ear holes and your eye holes, unless you're listening to the audio only podcast, of course. With me today are Kendrick.
Give me a high five there, DK.
Other way.
No, it's different for you. And Zoe.
Look, I've got a face. We've all got faces.
You have got a face. We have, yeah. And also pressing the knobs and poking the buttons behind the scenes is Toby. Toby's waving. You'll just have to believe that he's waving. Okay. Wave at the listener, everyone.
The viewer now.
Well, I don't know. Nobody might be watching. Anyway, yes, everyone's disappointed how we look. How are we all?
Yeah, right.
Not so bad.
It's slightly confused that there's a face on my screen now instead of absolutely nothing. No nose picking, no scratching various parts, that kind of thing.
I stroke my
This isn't
beard.
what I signed up for.
You
Contemplatively.
can stroke your beard, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Come on, Kendrick.
I can't grow facial hair. I haven't shaved for 2 months.
We have some comments. I'm just going to say, this is what the cool people do when they have a stream. They say hello to the people who are commenting. So, hello, Luffer, and hello, Niaz, and hello, Harping On, and hello, Harry. Hello, all of you. Wow, people watching. Good grief. Where's the panic button?
No, don't panic until people we don't recognize start commenting.
I set up a hotkey.
Jamie as well. My God, I'm not going to talk to everybody, and that's it. Anybody turns up now, that's it. You don't get a hello. If you can't be bothered to start at the beginning, then you're not welcome. Anyway, should we have some news? And apart from the amazing news that we're all here like this, we'll have some news. So we were all expecting a Switch Pro, weren't we? But we didn't expect it to be made by Valve, which was a bit of a surprise. So the Steam Deck has appeared, which is a bit of a silly name, especially given the day after its release, the Stream Deck announced a new version, which was really poor timing on everyone's part there. But anyway, so the Steam Deck is a handheld console. It's running a version of SteamOS, and it runs all your Linux available Steam games, but it also does a supposedly decent job of running most Windows-based ones under Proton, which is Valve's Wine-like translation. I think it's actually a fork of Wine. They're working with code weavers who seem to have ownership of Wine now. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. So it should run most things that you get, and it's very exciting.
The news from Valve, I think they had a release that said they expect every game in the current Steam library to run at 30 frames per second on the Steam Deck. I feel like that's kind of ambitious. Yes,
that's nonsense. So, I mean, there's no end of completely broken games on there that barely run at all on the top end PCs as it is at the moment. They're not going to run under Linux on a thing. Anyway, right, whatever. So they announced 3 units coming. They're all coming out around the end of the year, but everybody who's ordered one has been put in a queue with a 3-month window assigned to them, and they've spilt over into at least Q2 next year. I suspect some are Q3 now and whatever anyway, but so it's going to be a while. The specs are something. It doesn't really matter, does it? I mean,
the spec that I'm interested in, I don't know if you can tell from the picture, but it's 2 inches thick. Is that accurate? Is that accurately reported?
They said it's 2 inches thick, but being in the UK, I have literally no idea what an inch is. So
5.08 centimeters, I think that would be.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, that's quite fat. But apparently, the compare that to say an Xbox controller though, rather than a Switch, and that's probably not too far off the money, I would have thought. Anyway,
it's basically a Game Gear. It looks like a Game Gear, with form factor.
I mean, the batteries last 8 times as long. Anyway, so in terms of power, so I don't know what the full specs are, but in terms of power, it appears to be somewhere between a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So it's got some of the fancy features of a PlayStation 5 or a Xbox Series X or S or whatever chipset, but it's not as powerful as those. It doesn't have as many, whatever it is, compute cores or whatever they're called. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It plays games. So there's that, and the difference between the 3 units is just to do with storage, really. So the cheapest one, which is 350 quid, only has 64 gig of eMMC onboard storage. So that's the same kind of storage as a Switch has. So it's not particularly fast. It's basically just an SD card soldered to the board. And the other 2 have 256 gig and 512 gig SSDs, with the larger one being faster as well. For some reason, and they come in at £460 and £570 respectively. All of them have a micro SD card slot, which is going to be horrendously slow for PC games, I would imagine, but hopefully small indie games, the kind of stuff that you'd normally play on a Switch, should be fine, I would have thought anyway. And the expensive model also has a glass screen, or a better, stronger screen.
Anti-glare screen, I think they said it was.
Anti-glare, yeah. Okay.
Now, speaking of the screen, there's been no word as to whether or not it's a touch screen, right? Because a lot of the games
it is a touch screen.
It is a touch screen. Okay, so anything mousy will be able to respond to your finger pointing on it to select RTS units.
Presumably, yes. Although it does have on either side, so underneath the normal controls of a handheld, you've got both on both sides. You've got trackpads. So because you need a trackpad for each thumb, obviously. And the other weird thing as well,
it's a Steam controller with a screen in the middle.
Pretty much, yeah. Although the other thing as well, so did you notice about the sticks themselves? So the tops of the sticks are capacitive touch.
Oh.
Why? But they are. That's what it says. So now whether that's because it doesn't actually click, it's just it senses when you're pushing it, or whether it can do more stuff than that, I don't know. But anyway, so there's that. So in addition to the standard control, go on.
I'm censoring myself. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of games which would be popular in Japan, which would benefit from having capacitive touch sensing on each of the analog screens, and that's all I'm gonna.
Did you put the explicit tag on before we went live?
It says it's okay for kids. So right, I mean, I don't know what you're thinking of when you do that, but.
You don't want to know. I'm mostly surprised that you called it a console.
Because I'm buying one. If I wasn't buying one, it's a handheld PC.
The other curiosity is the fact that it's got a 16:10 screen.
Yes, which is odd.
Not if you're keeping up with gaming hardware lately, because the latest batch of gaming laptops that came from Asus and HP and from Lenovo all have 16:10 screens. That's the trend now. I'm not sure if that's just the only part that they could get, or if there's some kind of aesthetic reasoning behind that. But all of the last round of gaming laptops have 16:10 screens. So, for the Steam Deck to have it as well is just keeping up with that trend.
I also don't believe it's got any kind of video out, does it?
Yes, it does, through the USB-C.
Oh, right, it does. Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be sold with an optional dock, but they've already said that pretty much any USB-C dock of any kind will just work.
Okay.
I mean, it's a PC, so it should just work. You'd think. Anyway.
I'm going to love seeing people use these things on aeroplanes, where they have their dock and their keyboard and their trackball and their external
and their 34-inch. Yeah.
What kind of planes do you get on?
Planes full of nerds headed to technology conventions.
Yeah.
The minute the fast light.
So one important thing about this particular hardware compared to any other handheld console of any other kind is that you'll be able to install what you want on it. So it's not going to be locked to SteamOS. So you can run Windows on it if you want to. You can put the Epic Store on it and the Itch Store on it and whatever else. So there was an interview with Gabe Newell, and he was basically saying, if we didn't do that, then nobody's going to buy it, because the audience is going to be PC gamers that they want to give a handheld device to, and if you can't do what you want with it, they won't do it. So that's quite good as well. I mean, how fiddly Windows will be on there, how well other game stores will work on there, I don't know, but it's quite good that you'll be able to do that. you got limited storage on there as well, and I'm not sure how well Windows runs from an SD card, but it's something at least anyway. So the reason I've bought one is because I've got a massive Steam library that I never play because I don't play games on a PC. I don't actually have a PC, and an awful lot of them don't work on a Mac. But what I tend to do is see them on Steam and think they look good, and then buy them on the Switch when they come out on the Switch. And that just seems nonsense if I've already got them. So a handheld device, which is definitely not a Switch, but can play the games that I would normally buy on a Switch that I already own, that seems obvious to buy one, doesn't it? Surely.
That's a wonderful spend of money. That's a really well planned use of your, hard-earned cash there.
But you seem to have convinced yourself.
I just panicked and pressed the button. So,
yeah, you seem to have convinced yourself that if you get one of these and then get the games on it and then play them on this, that you won't also buy them on Switch. But I don't believe that's true.
No, you're right. That's exactly what will happen. I buy the inferior version of a Switch game, even though the Switch is connected to the same TV as the PlayStation 5. Anyway, so that's the Steam Deck, which hopefully we'll get at some point next year, probably. Anyway, but as well as Valve's Switch Pro, there's also Nintendo Switch Pro, which turned out to exist, but it isn't nearly as fancy as the rumors suggested. But then the rumors also suggested that it came with, a defibrillator, and it could fly, and it teleported games in from other countries, and stuff like that. But it's basically just another Switch with a bigger and slightly better screen, and it's got more internal storage. And it's slightly redesigned on the outside, but is actually physically exactly the same size.
I really like the panda colour scheme. And I think a defibrillator would be a natural sequel to the Vitality sensor. So,
well, all you need is a more powerful battery in each of the Joy-Con, and you're done. So,
okay, now we're talking about the screen here, and
yes,
for the benefit of our listener/viewer, the OLED, or organic electroluminescent light-emitting diode, means that this is a screen that has no backlight because each individual pixel generates its own light, which means that you get darker dark colors and more vivid bright colors. And we were speculating that maybe the OLED technology has moved on from 10, 15 years ago when the Vita was new, where you would get horrible burn-in because the luminescent pixels wouldn't quite bounce back as far. So do we know anything about whether or not the screen is a higher, better, faster technology in that regard?
I presume it's newer, but my launch day Switch doesn't have the slightest bit of burning.
Well, but your launch day Switch is also...
my launch day Vita.
Oh, okay. So, well...
Yeah. I know it was a problem on big
TVs.
In the dock.
Yeah. It might just be sat in the dock, and I'll play it on the TV anyway. So
why?
Yes, I've ordered one.
Why?
I don't have to explain myself to you.
You don't have to, but it'd be nice. Explain yourself to the listener who is also confused.
I don't know. Okay, so a couple of things. So mine makes a lot of noise now. The fan on it is going, and I've replaced the fan, but it's starting to go again, and I'm slightly concerned that it's going to die at some point. So I may as well get a newer, better one.
I have to assume that the newer model will have other improvements under the bonnet, as it were, that they're just not publicizing because they're just boring. Some component uses 5% less power, or some chip, generates 7% less heat. And these are all things
probably,
yeah. So this, you don't have to justify yourself to me. I accept you for who you are anyway. No matter what.
If they'd fixed the Joy-Con issue, then they would have been shouting about it from the rooftops. So I'm assuming they haven't fixed that.
Well, they haven't changed them, so
yeah.
Well, they may have done internally, but no, you can fix them easily. Who needs a piece of cardboard? Clearly, Nintendo can't stretch to a piece of cardboard to fix them themselves. But there we are. Anyway.
Well, I think Labo showed they can make a decent profit from pieces of cardboard, didn't it?
That's true, but they're supposed to go on the outside of the Switch, not the inside. So, you can't open it up. It voids the warranty. So, and it comes with a new dock, and the new dock has got a built-in network port.
Excellent. That's what we've all been waiting
for. It is, yeah. Wonderful. Anyway, so that's that. Oh, and briefly, and today is the day the Play date went up for pre-order. finally, after being waiting 2 years. Yes, I've ordered one.
Yeah, I also ordered one. It told me that it couldn't ship to my country, and then it worked.
Yeah, mine did the same thing.
I live in the country where they're selling the Playdate, and I didn't order one. And I'm ashamed to admit that none of the games in the announced library grabbed me, really. I mean, there's certainly quite a bit of provenance there.
Yeah.
You don't even care. You just want it.
Yeah, I just want to turn the crank.
2 or 3. Yeah.
If you want to turn the crank, plug in the Sega Bass Fishing on the Dreamcast.
I own that and the rod and have done for many years. I've never played it.
What's wrong with you? It's a fantastic game.
I've got in this drawer somewhere. I've actually got a little handheld tiger fishing game, which I've never ever managed to catch a fish on because I'm convinced it doesn't work.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah. Anyway, that's all my news. Or that's all I brought to the table in terms of news. So, Kendrick, tell us something else.
All right, so you may recall all the way back in podcast number 26, which was coincidentally the three of us again.
I remember it very well. Yes.
Yeah, we were going over the news from Gamescom 2 years ago, and one of the things that was going into an early closed beta was Humanity. Humanity is, as it turns out now, because we didn't quite know as much about it then, it is what they call the 4X strategy game, which is essentially a Civilization clone, and Civilization with an S, not a Z, not a Z. Wow, I'm getting all my Britishisms wrong today. Anyway, it was supposed to be released in April and has been delayed to August. And news got out that they were going to use Denuvo for DRM, for rights management and copy protection. And one of the people who plan to buy it, one of the beta testers, as a matter of fact, she posted a message saying, hey, this is going to really impact my enjoyment of the game and my decision to buy it. And Amplitude, the French development house that is making the game, took that under consideration, and then they announced, hey, we've also noticed that Denuvo is the cause of some of the performance issues in our game, so we're going to choose not to put it in. And we may lose some sales to piracy, but we expect that we will gain many more sales to gamers who will appreciate that we're not, getting in the way of their enjoyment of our product. And that, anyway, so they deserve a lot of praise for coming to that conclusion. I can't help being a little bit cynical that maybe they had made this decision already before that, potential customer had posted her message. And so this was just a convenient mechanism for, some good PR. But still, this raises the broader point of there are still a lot of games that are using terribly invasive DRM and copy protection, which is weird to me for a game that's going to be distributed solely digitally. You kind of have to have a license bought legitimately to be able to play it online through those services. And we'll get into, other copy protection issues when we talk about the games we've been playing. But anyway, so Humanity is no longer going to ship with Denuvo. Amplitude deserves a lot of praise for that. The game is being published incidentally by Sega, which is the only reason that I, have been keeping up with it at all. And it looks like one of those games that is beautiful to observe, but that I'm just not smart enough to play. I have no idea what I'm doing when I play Civilization or, Populous or anything of that type. I mean, even Megalomania confuses me and my poor addled mind. So,
well, because it's called Tyrants Fight Through Time over there.
Yeah. I don't think anybody actually likes Populous or knows how to play it. Certainly nobody would be on this podcast.
No, speaking of people who say things like that. So Tim has just pointed out that discussion of piracy is not allowed on the group.
Oh, so, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
what about discussion of anti-piracy? Is that?
Well, I mean, in order to discuss anti-piracy, there's going to be a lot of discussion of piracy coming up in one of my games. So,
well.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, are there any other major games which use Denuvo? I mean,
it's not something that I, have a I don't keep up with it the way that I keep up with, like, say, sports, statistics. But
Yeah,
de novo is more frequently associated with games from the really large publishers, like, for example,
right.
Ubisoft or Activision. They will use it without a second thought. I think
Mhm.
that at least one of the recent CD Projekt Red releases was just soaked in de novo, and
I
that
thought they
was
were completely anti-DRM. I thought
um
that was like their thing.
that was
Okay.
in the before time, before they lost their credibility. But no,
Harping on
it's
suggesting
like,
that one, yeah, harping on suggesting that one of the Resident Evil games had performance problems due to de novo,
hmm,
which kind of rings a bell. I remember there was something fairly recently, so it's probably that. So
Yep.
yeah.
okay,
So anyway, so hooray.
right.
Hooray.
Yeah, moving on. So Activision was in the news.
Gee, I wonder what about. All right, so we're
Probably best not to get into specifics about who said what and whatever, but
well, yeah.
it's another in a long line of big developers having lads culture, isn't it?
Well, let's get specific about why this is newsworthy now, because
Yes.
the specific inciting event happened in 2013. And
Yes.
why this is newsworthy now is that the state of California has filed a formal, legal case against Activision and has triggered the investigation. And we're not journalists, so we can't take credit for having uncovered any of that information. But the thing that I've been reading all of the various coverage in both the mainstream and the gaming press, and the thing that strikes me is that the smarter journalists, the ones who've been covering this type of issue for a very long time, have correctly observed that this is not a video game industry problem or even an American workplace problem. This is a generalized workplace problem across the entire world. It is a global issue
Mm.
that women are marginalized and mistreated in the workplace. It happens in warehouses. It happens in banking. It happens in manufacturing. It happens in the halls of government. And so this is just
Mhm.
part of our, if I may misuse the American catchphrase, this is part of the course correction that we may need to make our world more perfect, is to recognize that this has been happening in these workplaces, and to stop it and to fix it and to prevent it in the future. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't want to dwell on it either, but I thought it was worth acknowledging that this is being talked about, and that there's a lot of what happened on Wednesday, the 27th. It was Activision employees had a strike,
Yes.
to protest working conditions, and it just every day there's something new where someone is reacting, or someone is taking some kind of action, or someone is putting out a tone deaf press release. But that's comedy for another day and another platform.
Yeah, the chain of events seemed to be that they announced the suit. Bobby Kotick said, "This is completely unfounded. I can't believe you're doing this to us." All of the employees said, "I think they might have a point. We're walking out." And then he said, "I'm very sorry about our previous tone deaf press release. Maybe we could do something to improve. Honest." And I think
Mr.
I think today that was an update of Ubisoft as well, where all of their employees said, "Yeah, all that stuff they said a year ago that they were going to do to fix everything. Nothing's changed."
Yeah, I think Mr. Kotick and people at his level are going to be. They're going to become very familiar with the taste of their own shoes. There's going to be a lot of foot in mouth over this.
Yeah, they didn't care at all until the share price tanked. At which point they're suddenly
No.
really, really sorry about everything that they've done.
This seems to be a thing, but not basically with everything now. Is that people are quite happy to make the wrong decision for the purpose of furthering whatever agenda they happen to have, and then only pull it back if people complain. And it's not just the gaming industry, and it's not just about the incidents that have been happening to do with everything. Literally everything. It's now kind of like, do the bad thing first, and if people complain, then we'll apologize, maybe, or maybe pull it back and not do it quite as bad. It's almost like that they want the medium between the two ends, So they go to the furthest end first. And if they get away with it, then great. And if they don't, they pull it back to where they wanted to be in the first place. And they look great because they've done something about it. But
is that not how
anyway.
a 5-year-old tests parental boundaries? That's the tactic of a toddler, not of a grown adult who's attempting to run a company.
No,
anyway.
No, that's true. Yeah.
To be clear, I'm not accusing Bobby Kotick of being a toddler, but
you can if you want.
Yeah, he doesn't know who I am. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about it.
Hang on, your name is right there. Anyway. Okay. Right. And so you have a small piece of personal news, I understand.
I don't have any news that's news, but also this doesn't really count as playing. So
nothing has happened. Nothing has happened in the 9 months that you've not been on here. Nothing. Well, you've no.
Yeah, but I didn't think that I would just take up 4 hours describing what happened at E3.
Okay.
So this is my Xbox Elite controller. Look at my stick.
Okay.
It's like, it's not supposed to do that.
For the benefit of people listening to this after the event rather than watching this on the video, Zoe is now fingering the stick of his controller, and the rubber top is peeling off. Look at that.
So
this is your Elite controller that costs what, 180 quid or something ridiculous?
It actually only cost me 75 on eBay, but still. I mean, it's an absolutely wonderful controller. It's the best controller I've ever used. Unfortunately, you can just pop that off, and then I'll just pop this one on. But this is the longest
sticks
stick.
Out a bit far then.
Yeah, so now I've got this like enormous shaft here that's like really quite difficult to wrap your hand around. I mean, it's a bit off center with this one, but it still works. So anyway, Microsoft accessories.
Back to this again. Yeah.
Terrible build quality. Don't buy Microsoft stuff. However,
now wait a minute. Before you go on, the point of the longer shaft is so that you get more precision in the analog control. Do you find that you are able to move the stick about with more precision?
If you are a pro level gamer,
at the end of that word.
Yeah, if you are a pro level gamer, then I am sure that is true. If you are me, then what's precision?
Okay. Yeah. So left, right, up, down. Analog might as well mean nothing to you.
No, I understand the vague concepts of analog, but that level of precision, no, not really. That's for the kind of people who put weights on their mouse.
Oh, right.
That's something that's like a little bit beyond where I'm at. But yeah, and last week I acquired this little device. This is.
But you're wearing one of those.
Yes. So this is my PC.
How many sets of ears have you got?
I don't know. This desk is full of them. I've literally just got them everywhere. I've got 5 headsets on this desk, including the ones on my head.
He needs them for different weather. If it's warmer out, cable. If it's warmer out, then he needs to retain more heat, and different sets of headsets will.
I have a different headset for every device because I'm too lazy to repair things. Anyway, this is the new official Microsoft wireless headset for Xbox, and it is really nice. I absolutely love it. It's really comfy. It sounds really good, and also, little microphone. I kind of wish it came off, but it doesn't. This is the best.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. It apart from sounding really nice, having very, very good noise exclusion, to say it doesn't have any kind of active noise cancelling. My favourite thing, and the main reason I wanted to talk about this, and it's a feature that seems so obvious I can't understand why every other headset in the world doesn't have it. The entire cup rotates. So this does your volume, and this does your game audio and party audio chat mix levels. And it means you don't have to look, because on the PlayStation one and every other headset I've used, you've got like chat up, down, volume up, down. They're behind your head. You can never remember which is which. Can never find them, and I get very confused. And with this, you literally just grab it and turn it and grab it and turn it, and it's such a good idea, and it works really, really well. And
is it tactile? Is it clicky? Can you?
It's not clicky. I mean, you can feel it turning, but it's not in any way tactile. The only downside, and this is a system level thing rather than this headset thing, and it was the same with the Xbox One versus PS4. On the Sony official headset, or when you plug headphones into the DualShock, it automatically kills any other audio. So it mutes the sound from going out of your TV as soon as you turn your headset on. Whereas with Xbox, if you include a wired headset or a wireless headset, you still have to mute the TV, which is a bit annoying because it means I just have a giant mute icon floating around my TV for the whole time I'm playing. But apart from that, if you are looking for an Xbox headset, this is probably the best official headset I've ever used. And I just wanted to show it off.
We should say that this is a personal testimonial, and that this headset was not provided to ugvm as any sort of consideration.
Yeah, views are mine, not those of ugvm.
Void were prohibited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my news. I bought a headset and it's nice.
I mean, it's on par with the Activision stuff, really, isn't it? But but
nobody was harassed in the purchasing of this headset,
as far as you're aware.
I hope not.
Well, that's true. Okay, so that's all our news. Tim suggests that you still have to remember which side of the headphones is which. Although I did notice there was a massive L and a massive R inside the headphones. Yes, look at that. Very good. It's like Jimmy Cricket's wellies. Yeah. Zoe has no idea who Jimmy Cricket is. Kendrick has no idea who Jimmy Cricket is.
I was going to say I'm quite disconnected from your media illusion there.
Is Jimmy Cricket a different person from Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio?
Yes.
Right, okay. Then no.
Very different. Yeah. No. Anyway, so let's move on to some of the games that we have been playing, and I'm going to start. And
do we get the intro music? Do we have to do it?
The intro music. What, the sting?
Hey! Yeah.
No, we don't now. You've just done it. Yeah. I mean, Toby's right there with his finger, and you're just.
Oh, sorry, Toby.
Anyway, so I've been playing Animal Crossing, which has come as no surprise to anybody. And what can I tell you about Animal Crossing that I haven't told you already in the last 19 months?
Nintendo's announced that there'll be some new content soon.
It's not really new. It's the same kind of content as last year. It's like, we're going to have fireworks. We had fireworks last year.
Is it Brewster? Because if it isn't Brewster, then how
no,
serious
it's not,
is
no,
the
that's literally what it is. That's it. There's just fireworks. That's it.
Yeah. There were fireworks before. I remember in was it New Leaf where you could design your own fireworks?
Yes, you can do in this one as well. You can design your own fireworks.
Yeah, Isabel told me that she loved. Isabel told me she loved me underneath a Sonic firework. It was great.
No, she didn't.
She did.
I've got Isabel on here. Here we go. There she is.
Ah,
yeah. Anyway, so I've just been doing the same thing as every other day for the last however many months, and that's it basically.
What have you sent me now?
I haven't sent you anything. I've given up sending you stuff because you don't reply. You're the worst person to send anything to, so I've just not bothered. I'll keep my oranges. Thank you very much. I don't bother shaking them off the tree anymore.
I lost my Switch for 3 months, and then I found it a month ago, and then I haven't even checked to see if there's any battery in it. I was like, oh, cool, I found my Switch. And it's still in the case where I found it, because I don't know. I can't think of a compelling reason to turn it on.
No. Oh, well. So that's Animal Crossing. Join us again next month when I'll tell you about everything that's happened in the next month of Animal Crossing, including how exciting those fireworks were.
Have you caught all of the things yet?
What?
Have you caught all the things yet?
No.
But it's been over a year. It's been out for over a year. Surely you should have caught everything by now.
No, I don't care. I tell you something. Do you know Wisp? You know Wisp, the ghost that appears on the highest part? Yeah. He appears after 9 o'clock or whatever on some nights. I've seen him twice, and they were both within the first month. Never seen him ever again. What a waste of time.
Now we're making fun of this, but there's something to be said for a reliable go-to game that you can always relax with. It's like
it's not relaxing.
Why in the world are you playing?
I don't know. Because I always have. You can't stop now. That's the problem. If I stop now, it'd be like I've played it for 600 days, and now I.
Like you don't have enough tedious obligations in your life, to begin with.
Yeah, well, yeah. You can always make more. Anyway, I've played other things. So I've been playing One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. Which no, we're looking that way. That way. Up there. There it is. Look. There's me and my daughter fighting things. That's us. Anyway, so a few episodes back, I talked about One Piece Pirate Warriors 3. So you could just go back and listen to that and then just change to 3 to 4 because it's virtually the same game. There's not really that much different. So, okay. So the final third of the game takes place in the New World, which is a region covered in the comics and presumably the cartoon. I have no idea. I don't read them or watch them. And that wasn't in the previous game. So all that means really is there's more stupid, ridiculous characters and more stupid, ridiculous locations. And otherwise, yeah, it's just smacking people in the face constantly. And that's it. There's this.
Are you the king of all the pirates yet?
No. I mean, he's been going since what, 1997?
Something like that.
It's something like the one of the longest running comic series, and it just Harping On says, is this Dynasty Warriors mixed with Temple Run? No, it's Dynasty Warriors mixed with with One Piece. Obviously, it's clues in the name. But yes, anyway, so there's this massive old woman who's called Big Mom. Well, that's mum or mom, depending. And she just seems to constantly eat cake. In fact, there's a big change actually over the last game. Is that some of the characters are massive. Like previously, they were all more or less the same height, whereas now they're massive, like 6 or 7 times the size of you for reasons that aren't explained. And then there's one of the new.
All these characters have
eaten. I don't know.
They've eaten one of the special fruit, which gives them some body horror superpower, right? And
I get that, but I don't think but Luffy's not the size of a church.
Well, no, but his power is to stretch. These other boss characters. I mean, they're cast as boss characters, but I think in the source material, they're just like encounters. Through which our cast of pirates, our crew of pirates, learns to accept one another for who they are and come together as a team. Blah blah blah. I mean.
Yes.
Am I getting the theme of that wrong? Is that what you're getting out of the game?
No, that's exactly. No, I've said this before. Every single Japanese TV series or cartoon or game is exactly the same in that they meet people who are bad people, and then instead of killing those bad people, unless it's Yakuza, instead of killing those people, they end up becoming friends with them and allies with them, and then they go on and find the next person who is a bad person, and then they make that a good person, and this is this happens through the game. So anyway, but yeah, it's a Muso game. It's the same as all the other ones, and it's repetitive nonsense, but you just switch off and then play it for ever, and that's what you do. So I've got no love for the characters at all, but like the previous game, I played it completely in co-op with my daughter, and she is now obsessed with One Piece to the point where the first 6 volumes of the comic arrived in our house this week, and it seems Emmanuel Macron is also into One Piece. He tweeted about it this week.
The president of France, that Emmanuel Macron.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Ichiro Oda, the cartoonist, writer, whatever, of it, he sent Macron a signed piece of original artwork, and Macron tweeted about it, which is odd. But anyway, so yeah, but speaking of co-op, so one issue with it's great in co-op. I play all the Muso games in co-op where it's possible to do so, and it's much better with 2-player because you get given missions and it's easy for one of you to go one end of the map and one of you to go the other end of the map and do things at the same time, and taking down bosses and stuff is a lot easier, and so on. Anyway, but one issue with the game, and it happened to some extent in the previous one, is that some of the levels are 1-player only. But there's seemingly no reason for it, because on every single one of them there's at least one other AI player who is on your side, who could have quite easily been taken over as a player too, but they don't let you. And when you replay the level in free mode, which lets you choose any character you like in order to replay the scenario, it's 2-player. So why force it to be 1-player just for the sake of the story? It doesn't make any sense.
Anyway. Does it present you with like different enemies or different things to collect depending on the character that you select?
No, it's exactly the same. Even to the point where any cutscenes, it swaps whoever you're playing as for whoever you were supposed to be playing as in the original way to play through. So it's Yes, it's strange. Anyway, so we played everything 2-player as far as we could, and then after finishing the main story, which took 15 hours or something, we then set about clearing all the scenario missions. So there's got to be well over 100 of them, maybe 150, maybe even more.
And they all look like that.
Pretty much, yeah. So they mix up all the existing maps. Sometimes just sections of the maps, and sometimes the whole map with different baddies and different allies, and just give an excuse to play things slightly differently. That's all. And the final one is basically you against every single character in the entire game, one after another. And even with a fully leveled up Luffy and Carrot, who are the two characters who we played most of the way through the game, it was really, really hard. But today we finished it. We got them all, got all the trophies, 100%ed it, done. When's Pirate Warriors 5 out?
Sooner than you think.
I've never heard of One Piece Pirate Warriors before about 10 minutes ago, and I've still got no idea what you're talking about.
No. You know Hyrule Warriors, yes?
Yes.
Or Samurai Warriors, or Dynasty Warriors.
Yes.
Yes, it's that, only with the characters from a cartoon that you've never seen, probably.
Okay. The only one of those that I own is Fire Emblem Warriors, but I've never played it, so well, that's one. I gather it is a lot of people killing each other.
Pretty much, yeah. That's it. Yeah, it's just thousands and thousands of people. I mean, the body count racks up into 2,000 or 3,000 by the end of each level. So yeah, and it tells you, it's up in the screen, tells you how many people you've killed. Yeah, excellent. It's fine. It's fine to play with a young girl. That's exactly what you want to be teaching them. It's slaughtering thousands. So anyway, but Samurai Warriors 5 came out a couple of weeks ago, I think, or maybe just now. I can't remember, but it's been on both PSN and the eShop on the Switch for quite some time, and I was very tempted, but then I remembered that I've not enjoyed any of the Samurai Warriors games previously, so I gave it a miss. And then on PSN, the Warriors All-Star game, which is the one which is a crossover between Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors and Dead or Alive and Apuna and Samurai Cats and Neo and Ninja Gaiden and God knows everything else that the company make. And I thought, fine, that'll be okay. That'll be great. And it's got plenty of nonsense characters in it, and none of the story makes any sense. So that's brilliant because it's not based in reality, and it's one player only. So we didn't get that. So anyway, apparently I need better taste in video games, according to Neos. Well, on that, it's not on that. So another game I've been playing is Alwa's Legacy. And so it's another sequel to a game that I've played and mentioned on the podcast recently. So last month, I think it was, I mentioned about Alwa's Awakening, which was the original game. And if you don't recall, that was an 8-bit style Metroidvania platformer where you get 3 powers, one of which is creating blocks, creating bubbles, and shooting lightning. Well, this is a 16-bit sort of follow-on, set in a variation of the same world, and you get the same powers, but there's also some extra ones, so you can now warp through walls, and you can breathe underwater for a while and stuff like that. But the plot is more or less the same, standard Metroidvania type thing. 4 bosses to go and kill, you get more powers, opens up different parts of the map that let you access other areas, and then you finally beat the big bad, and that's it really. So I mean, apart from the power-ups being a bit different to the norm in these type of games, it doesn't do anything particularly special, but it's really well put together, and it's a lot of fun if you're a fan of the genre. So I am, and you can tell that I enjoyed it, because one of the proofs of a good Metroidvania, as far as I'm concerned, is that after I've completed it, I go back and get every single part of the map filled in, every single hidden item, every single orb that's somewhere, every secret, the best ending, all that kind of thing. So I went through and did the whole lot.
They've got the most generic names you could literally possibly think of.
What, Metroidvania games, or Alwa's Awakening and Alwa's Legacy?
Yeah.
I'm sure they were focused.
The thing is, that's quite possibly, but Alwa isn't even the character you play as, or any of the characters in the game. It's the world that you're in. So it doesn't even make any sense.
Well, in The Legend of Zelda, you hardly ever play as Zelda.
That's true, but at least Zelda's in it.
Now, from your description, I was under, I think, the mistaken impression that the 2 Owl games were procedurally generated a la Dead Cells. But based on what
No.
you were saying just now about the map, it's a fixed environment, a designed one. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Yeah. And for this sort of game, I generally prefer it. That kind of thing as well. I mean, I'm nothing against procedurally generated things, but yeah, I've been on a bit of a Metroidvania kick recently, and I've tried a few procedurally generated ones, but I seem to just prefer ones that are the same every time. I mean, it's not likely I'm going to play through them a second time anyway, so might as well. So anyway, but that's good.
I just
And
had a
finally,
brainwave.
go on.
I'm imagining Animal Crossing's main game loop, but instead of an overworld JRPG interface, it's a Metroidvania that you build out instead.
So it's basically Destiny.
Okay.
Well, okay.
I'm pretty sure that there is a game that.
Well,
does that.
what I've
I
described
don't
is Terraria, basically. So,
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Right. I wasn't thinking of that. Niaz is saying Owl's Legacy. No, open your ears. Niaz is Alwa's Legacy. ALWA. Alwaz. Yes. Anyway, so the other thing that I have been playing, and this is one of those, one of two games that I have ordered in the last year, which have come from a limited run type thing. And this was also delayed, but nowhere near as badly
Hendrick's
as
been
the
a
previous
bad
one.
influence on you.
sorry.
He has. I'm not doing any more. That's it. I'm not having any more. But I mean, to be fair, this one didn't take quite as long to arrive. But it was out on the eShop about 3 months before the physical version came through.
Did it cost £15 for delivery?
No, it didn't cost anything. But yes, it cost. No, it didn't cost anything for delivery. I don't think. Certainly didn't pay anything. Anyway. So it's Wonder Boy Asher in Monsterland, which is otherwise known as the original Mega Drive game as Monster World 4 or something.
Yeah.
But it's basically a Wonder Boy game, but you don't play as Wonder Boy or Shion or whatever he's going to be called in that particular game. You play as Asher, who's basically like Shantae, only without the whippy hair. So let me say, I haven't completed it yet. I think I'm about 75% of the way through it, given that there's 4 main areas, or there seems to be, and I've done 3 and a bit of them, so it can't be that wrong. But I'm finding it hard to enjoy as much as I thought I would. I knew it wasn't as adventure-y as Monster Boy or Wonder Boy Monsterland or any of the other previous games, not going quite all the way back to the original Wonder Boy. And this was more linear, but there's just quite a few disappointing things about it. And one of them, now I'm not a person who goes for graphics over gameplay, but the graphics themselves, they're just a bit strange. It's a remake of the Mega Drive game, and they've replaced all the nice pixel art with more detailed stuff. But where it worked for Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap remake that Lizard Cube did a few years ago, here the art style is it's more like a Flash game. The way where there's a kind of disconnect between the foreground characters and the background, and it doesn't quite go properly, and it has slightly weird animation. It's like that. And also the fact that it's similar to Shantae in terms of the location. So it's got Persian houses and clothing and similar music and all that kind of thing. But when you put them side by side, it looks pretty bad.
I have to ask, you obviously bought the Switch version and not the PS4 disc.
Yes.
And the notable difference between the two platforms there is that on the PS4, you have to get the Mega Drive game as a download, whereas on the Switch cart, it's right there on the cart for you to play. So Have you put any time into the original Mega Drive version to compare?
I have, but not on the Switch. So it came. So I have played it originally in Japanese years and years and years ago, not long after it first came out, and had no idea what was going on. But I have played it more recently, but still probably over a decade ago, when it came out on the Xbox 360 on Xbox Live Arcade.
That's right.
There was a version on there, and I played through a fair bit of that. I never completed it, and I don't remember why I didn't, but it just didn't stick, or something else came along. I don't know. So yeah, but I don't remember it all that well. But it's just, I don't know, it's just not as good as the other similar related games that have been out fairly recently. So, the levels have all been really frustrating as well. So you can forgive the graphics if the gameplay's good, but it's not. So, I mean, the levels aren't hard, but they're all mazes that kind of loop around, and there's hidden traps that force you to drop through floors and miss things that you need to get. So you have to go all the way around the map to get back to where you were, remember where the trap was, and jump over it, and things like that. So there's one of the levels is an ice pyramid. And in particular, you've got like an area. This is what good with the video. Look, you got like the map is basically a snake down to the bottom with shortcuts between each of the levels, and you have to go into them and find things in there, and then you come out the bottom. But the problem is you miss some of the stuff that's in there, and then you have to go all the way around back to the top again, and then come back down through it and hope that you get the right bit. And then you forget which of the 6 or 8 or however many there are that you've forgotten that you've gone through, and you have to go through them all twice. And you're just looping around over and over, replaying bits. And baddies don't respawn, which is kind of good to let you know that you've been there previously, but it means you've got nothing to do. And it's quite a trek from one end to the other, and there's literally nothing to do. It's just a pain. And when you do come across baddies, you've gone.
I was going to say I've played a fair bit of the game as well, and I think that Asha and Monster World is a fair argument against being too faithful to the original game that you're remaking.
Yeah,
cutting out some of this fat, cutting out some of the repetition that happened naturally in this era of game design because games were so expensive and you didn't buy them quite as frequently. I feel like this remake would have benefited from that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're right though. It should have done. They should have redesigned some of the levels or put more stuff in them or done something. But there's even when you do come across the baddies, it's like, oh, here's a slime, and then after that, oh, there's another slime, and then after that, oh, there's another slime, and it's like one at a time. It's like the game can only understand one enemy at any one time, and it's like you don't want to walk along 2 screens, kill one slime, and then walk along another 2 screens, and then kill another slime, and then what? It's not fun. It's just and there's another thing that I found annoying as well. So the thing with this game is that you get this sidekick bird ball dragon thing called a Pepe Lagoon.
I hate that thing. That thing is so annoying. Can't I just jump? Do I have to glide across this chasm?
Yeah.
Can't I find a way to just jump and then get there instead of having to press 11 different buttons?
Yeah, well, it has a solution to that, you see, because it gives you that. And through the game, there's a bit where you go and feed it, like the weird guys with the sticks that are supposed to be there to save the game, but they tell you at the beginning that they're not needed to save the game anymore, because in modern games you can save when you want. So you do, but they still appear, and then they have no other purpose. Anyway, one of them keeps telling you to go, oh, like your little thing, it might want some fruit. So you go and find some fruit, and it gets fed. It gets a bit bigger, grows some spikes or whatever. And then you come back later on and feed it again. And then it gets so big that you can't carry it anymore. So it becomes mostly useless. So you can hold it, but you can't walk while you're holding it, which means you can't do a long jump anymore because you can't run. So it actually makes the game harder by giving you this. And then, spoiler, they take it away completely. So it's like, yeah. So it's not great. But I don't really regret buying it, despite it not being all that good, because I don't know, probably some reason. But it's a nice box. I think, actually, to be honest, I probably would have been more disappointed if I'd have only bought the digital version, because at least I didn't, I wouldn't have had anything to show for it. Whereas at least now I've got, half a centimetre of shelf taken up with another red spine. So something there. But anyway, people are now probably watching the animation and thinking it's not as bad as I'm saying.
It sounds like you've basically got Kendrick's Stockholm Syndrome from Limited Run.
No, I hated everything about Limited Run right from the beginning.
You got the nice box, so it's okay. It doesn't matter if the game's bad.
To be fair, I got over that. Now let's be clear.
Yeah.
Your order came from Strictly Limited, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and this Strictly Limited is Germany, the one that's located. Yeah, they're in Merry Deutschland, and so I ordered a copy from them, not realizing that the 2 versions of Monster World were coming out at regular retail in the States. So You know,
Mhm.
I
And
bought
over
an
here.
unnecessary physical copy.
Yeah, they were on Amazon a month before they were on Strictly Limited or whatever.
And you didn't
Which
even
is
get the
bizarre.
collector's edition, did you? You just got the regular cart.
I got the regular one. It's fine. It's only money. Anyway, that's everything I've been playing. Niaz says, has anyone played the Alex Kidd remake? No, but from what I hear, it's not great.
I've played it, and it is. I have a hard time believing that this is true, but it is. It is even more faithful to the old game than Asha and Monster World is, to the point where you have a button where you can switch between the old school graphics and the remake graphics, and all of the collision and all of the level design is completely identical with just 3D rendered what's it's substituted in.
Yeah.
So there's
Dragon's Trap did the same thing, but
yeah.
Which Alex Kidd is it?
Alex Kidd.
It's Miracle World. It's the one that was built into the Master System.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a lot more experience with Enchanted Castle.
Enchanted Castle is basically a remake. It's almost exactly the same story. So, I guess story.
Playing rock, paper, scissors against a wizard. Great story.
Yeah, there is that. But anyway, so that's everything I've been playing. Well, it's not everything I've been playing. I completed Game Dev Story again today. Yeah, where's your video for that, Toby? No. So Zoe, tell us what you've been playing.
I've been playing Game Dev Story. I finished it again yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah. Just I can't see Toby.
It's an 11-year-old game.
It is, yeah, but it's still great. So
should point out for the people that don't understand, the reason why there's a big resurgence in an 11-year-old game is it just reappeared on Apple Arcade for free if you have an Apple Arcade subscription.
So. Yeah, it's called Game Dev Story Plus, but it appears to be Game Dev Story. And also new on Apple Arcade, as I just discovered, is my most played game of the last decade, Threes, called Threes Plus, which appears to have a red icon on the home screen of the iPhone, and apart from that, it's identical in every way.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah. So first off, I have been playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which is one of these weird modern video games. It's
you say it's modern.
It's a PlayStation 5 game, and it is only available on PlayStation 5. So I thought I should buy it because that's a novelty. And
that is true. There aren't any PlayStation 5 games, so
there's that. Demon Souls and that terrible Gearbox game, which is now coming to PS4 because they've realised that they only sold 4 copies because everybody realised it wasn't very good. So they had to open it up to a bigger market of people who might not realise it wasn't very good. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called.
I have no idea. Somebody in the comments. We have some comments. We can ask people to put stuff in the comments. And
what is that really bad Gearbox game that I think might begin with a G? It was a PS5 launch game. No.
Niaz says it's Returnal.
No, that's Housemarque. But that is also a PS5 exclusive, yes.
Yeah, okay.
What's it called? It's like Godfall. Is it? It might be Godfall.
Godfall. That's a game, but yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Because you get your PS5 and you want it to have graphics, and so far it's just had PS4 games with higher frame rates, and it hasn't had the graphics. And so I thought this would have the graphics. Yeah, and it does. It's got all of the graphics. That's where they live now. Mm-hmm. It is impossibly good looking. It's like ridiculous. I don't know how they've done it. We have finally, we have now definitely reached the post early Pixar level, which is nice. So Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is the game that delivers on the pre-release promise of the PS2. So, this is the game the Emotion Engine was made for. I'm sure you've all played a Ratchet and Clank game. It's one of those. It is just like one of those, but with more graphics.
They are identical. They are all identical. I think I own 3 of them accidentally, and I don't know. I couldn't tell them apart if you put the footage in front of me. I'm looking at this right now, and I have no idea if this is really the latest one or not.
I assume it is. I assume it's the video I provided. Does it look
I do like
impossibly...
this running joke, by the way, of the videos. It's good, yeah.
Yeah. If you can see the video and it looks impossibly attractive, then it's the right video. Yeah, it really is like CGI film levels of ridiculous. And then you hit things and it breaks into bolts, which are like the collectible. And every block you hit has got 4 million of them just so they can show how much crap you can get on a screen at once. And it's so lovely. It's
And
really... Puddles.
Puddles.
Yeah, it's probably got some puddles.
That's the new. Well, that's the only thing I've seen in it that looks good. Is puddles.
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that the puddles are better than Spider-Man, but not as good as the Spider-Man pre-release trailer, which obviously is now the gold standard for puddles, which can never be reached. But yeah, it plays like a Ratchet game, but it looks nicer and doesn't have as much loading. And you get some bonus extra mini games where you're a little spider robot and you have to save all of the world's computers from viruses. There's now a Lady Lombax who is fun and good, and another robot who can transform from a very small robot to a very big robot. Yeah, it's a Ratchet game. If you've played a Ratchet game, you know whether or not you're going to like it. Andy will hate it. Everybody who doesn't voluntarily play really terrible old Wonder Boy games will think it's really good. So
I'm right here. Yeah,
I know you're right there. But as
This is our inaugural video podcast, so eventually we're going to have like a standardized graphic for that.
I genuinely didn't know that was about to happen, but
no. Do you know? Do you know some people in their offices, they have the boards up there and they're saying like, you don't have to be crazy here to work here, but it helps, and and motivational quotes and that kind of thing. This is pinned in front of me most of the day. So sorry, go on.
Yeah, so as Niaz said, you have terrible taste in games. Ratchet and Clank is a better than average 3D platformer with absurdly good top tier graphics. And if you want that, then it is that. It's surprisingly short. I think the whole story took me 12 hours, Platinum took me 15.
Did you pay £70 for the disc?
I paid £55 for the disc, and then I finished it and I sold it for £35 to somebody who I know has also platinumed it and will probably sell it on as well. And I feel like I definitely got my £20 worth out of it.
Okay.
So I am perfectly, probably, yeah, but I'm perfectly satisfied that I got £20 worth of enjoyment out of it. I have no regrets of buying it. If you were going to buy it for full price, 70 quid, and then never play it again, then I would say wait for a price drop. If you can get it for 50 quid and then flip it for 30, then I'd say that it's well worth doing at that price. If only just to look at it and go, ooh, which is what I spent most of my time doing. Just like, ooh, oh my God, that fur looks nice. No idea what the story was. I was just kind of like looking at the fur and the reflections in the eyes and the ray tracing in Ratchet's shell. Not Ratchet, Clank. Ratchet doesn't have a shell. Yeah, so that's Ratchet and Clank. It's one of them, but pretty. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Wrath of the Druids, where everybody is Irish, apart from the fact that I think I only met 2 Irish people in the entire game, which is exclusively set in Ireland, and I only found 2 Irish people. Found a couple of Welsh people, a few English people, a whole bunch of Danes, Norwegians, and Icelandics, and then 2 Irish people with hilariously stereotyped accents.
I was going to ask if the only thing distinguishing these various nationalities was the accent.
Oh, very much so.
Okay.
Yeah. My bad, I was right there.
That's racist.
Yeah, if Gunther Gloop is listening, I sincerely apologise. So yeah, you go to Ireland, and one of the local kings turns out to be your cousin. He wants to become more of a king, wants your help, and because you have already completed the main game and got all 1,000 gamer score, you are over leveled to the point that you can just go into Ireland and decapitate everybody by looking at them. So you do that to help him, but it also turns out there's an underground cult of druids who are just setting fire to things, so you have to kill all of them as well. And then it turns out that there's a bug, so the last achievement you can't actually get. Because the Trial of Morrigan, where you have to stand at an altar, pray to a fire, then some druids appear, then you have to kill them all, which it might have finished by now, but in the video is me finally doing the Trial of Morrigan and finally getting the last achievement because they released a patch yesterday morning that fixed it, which is why I was so late getting my Valhalla video up. I'm sorry, Toby. I was waiting for him to fix that.
I have to ask, I don't actually remember which historical period this is supposed to be in, but do they spend the whole time calling the island Hibernia?
No, they don't. They call it Ireland.
It's not Ireland yet, is it?
Yeah.
The Animus translates it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Viking invasion period. Eivor, the player character, is Norwegian. The Danes have kind of already come in and settled a bit. I don't think it explicitly says a year, but they call the country Ireland.
It's around about it's around about 1000 AD, though, isn't it?
The Northern Ireland is in it, and it's called Ulster, and it's not suggested that it's a separate country or anything.
Well, let's maybe someone in the comments. Maybe someone in the comments can look it up on Wikipedia and tell us if it was or was not Hibernia.
John says the Irish people were in the pub fighting.
Oh. All right, yeah. I mean, I did see a few instances of that, but then the Vikings were in the pub also fighting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was one. So as always, there's the trophy for doing every single thing in every single area, and I did every single thing in every single area apart from one little trial of the druids, where you start a trial and then you have to kill everything that spawns in like 2 minutes, which is perfectly straightforward. Apart from on one of them, you killed everything, and then it just went back, and then you could stand in front of the thing and start it again. So it finished. It went back to like it was supposed to, but it didn't actually register that you'd done it. So you could do it infinitely. So if you were trying to grind levels, that's great. You could literally just stand there and just level infinitely. If you actually wanted it to say, yes, you have done it, now you have done everything, you were screwed. So that was quite annoying. I finally did that, and then I tried the other new DLC, which is the free Mastery Challenges bit, and they have ruined my life. Because I got all 1K on Assassin's Creed. I got every achievement on the first expansion pack, and then they have introduced this new challenge DLC that is too hard. And I can't do it, and it's got achievements, and it means that my 100% is at risk.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You just complained that one of the things was way too easy. Right? You can't have it way too easy and then complain when it's too hard.
I'm not complaining it was way too easy. The only reason that the DLC was too easy is because I spent 150 hours on the main game until my character is basically like some kind of god. That's fine. I don't mind that. I'm complaining that even with my godlike character, I then start the Mastery DLC and it just says like, we have adjusted all of the difficulty parameters so that you are no longer a god, removed all of your special powers. Please headshot all these 800 people in 40 seconds without being detected. And no, I don't want to. Just give me back my 100% record. It's really annoying. So yeah, I'm quite bitter about it.
Okay. Niaz wants to know, overall, do you think it's worth getting? He enjoyed the last two.
If you enjoyed the last two and you fancy another one, then sure, it's another one of those. I played Origins. I didn't like Origins at first, and then I was kind of getting into it by the end. And by the time I finished it, I then bought the season pass, did all the DLC. I completely skipped Odyssey. By the end of Valhalla, I kind of wanted it to be over.
How long was it?
To finish the story, it took me about 60, 70 hours. To 1K it took me like at least one. Actually, no, I think it was 111. I'm pretty sure that's what it said when I reloaded my save.
It's too long.
Yeah, like it is. It's just way too long. But if you have got a lot of free time and you like those other Assassin's Creed games and you quite fancy throwing yourself into another obscenely long Assassin's Creed game, it's fine. I mean, it's really buggy, like really buggy. But you know what
that's
you're
a
getting.
given, though. With the
Yeah. It's got a nice setting. It's got nice graphics. I really like that it supports VRR on Xbox. It's got an unlocked frame rate, which is pretty handy because when I first got my Xbox Series X and my Xbox. No, yeah, when I first got this and my Xbox Series X, I was still running my old TV, which so the frame rate, the V-Sync was like miles off. So it was running unlocked, and the screen tearing was like unbearably all over the place. Then when I got my new TV, it's got VRR, so it doesn't matter what the frame rate is; it just looks really nice. So that's handy.
Okay.
And actually, yeah, I'm going to go back a game. Toby, you don't have to change it. I'm on maybe 5 seconds. Ratchet and Clank has recently released a patch which has got a locked 40 FPS mode. So if you've got a 120 hertz display, it will divide evenly. So it's smoother than 30 and not as smooth as 60, but you can run the full fat performance ray tracing mode at a locked 40 now instead of a locked 30, and that's an optional toggle in case you've got 120 hertz TV. That's nice. So back to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yeah, you know the score. It's Assassin's Creed. This time it's got Vikings and 2 Irish people. So if you like Vikings and 2 Irish people, then yeah, sure, play it. So thirdly, I will move on to Tetris Effect, which I kind of didn't even really mean to start playing. It kind of came up on Game Pass that it was a thing, and I was like, oh, that sounds like boring, but it's Tetris, and I've got half an hour to kill, and I can't be bothered learning a new game, so I'm just going to play Tetris. And then I played it quite a lot. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm really, as you can see from the video, I'm never quite sure which direction it's in. But if you look at the video, you can see that I'm very bad at Tetris. And however, I've played a lot of Tetris. I played through all of the journey mode, which is the kind of story mode, for as much as a Tetris game can have a story mode. It's basically just a linear series of levels. So this is done by Mizuguchi, is it? Of Rez fame and Child of Light and that other thing that he did before Rez. What was the thing he did before Rez? It was a Nintendo game, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
No. Anyway,
someone in the comments will remember.
Yeah. So so Rez and Lumines and that kind of thing. So it's basically Tetris cross Lumines. Tetris but Lumines. So it's Tetris with pretty animated backgrounds, thumping soundtracks. Everything's all synced up. It looks really beautiful, really lovely. Lots of challenge modes. As soon as the speed goes above 5, I have no idea what I'm doing. I think the speed goes up to about 400, but like literally as soon as it gets past 5, I'm like, my brain doesn't work this fast. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm just spinning things indefinitely, trying to keep them rotating so I can work out what to do. So yeah, I'm really rubbish at it. I managed to get 1 S rank on 1 game mode by putting it on the lowest possible speed and just holding off until I got Tetrises, even though I nearly killed myself 4 times. But it's kind of relaxing in a stressful way. It's like simultaneously like, oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, I'm so mellow, and it's not like a feeling I'm particularly used to. It's like there's dolphins swimming and splashing, and kind of like Enya playing, or like Japanese Enya, and all the time like all these pretty lights, and yet you know that any second from now you're going to get a piece that is just going to ruin everything, and your last 10 minutes of hard work is going to be undone, and you're going to die. So yeah, that's I don't really know what more there is to say. It's Tetris. Have either of you guys ever played Tetris?
I play Tetris. Yeah. In fact, I even have I have some Tetris lights.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. So
yeah.
So
they don't disappear when you stack them up. That's.
No.
I wish I thought to prepare them. I think
you got your toast rack. Look,
it's not a toast rack. It's a document sorter.
It's a toast rack.
I have somewhere in this mess 7 different versions of the original Tetris Game Boy cartridge from 3 different regions, and I've bought most of them accidentally. I would just buy lots of Game Boy games, and one of them would be Tetris, and I'd be like, okay, fine, throw it in. So everywhere in my house, if I want to play Tetris on Game Boy, there's a cart, not far from me.
I don't have a copy of Tetris in this room.
No, I thought it was Tetris. It's not. It's Dr. Mario.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you picked up a Game Boy cartridge. There's an 80% chance it's going to be Tetris.
There is, yeah. I'm not even sure why I've got that up there. Never mind. Yeah, right. Okay.
Anyway, yeah. If you like Tetris,
Would you like a tour of my room? No.
By now, you probably know if you like Tetris.
Hmm.
Then yeah, play Tetris Effect. It's on Game Pass. It's also the connected version, which has got multiplayer, but I have not played the multiplayer because that would involve me playing Tetris against other people, and that can't possibly end well.
No.
And lastly, and fourthly, my most satisfying game achievement in recent years was accomplished 4 days ago. You think I should have remembered the date? I'm kind of disappointed I didn't. I got the last achievement on Sonic Adventure for Xbox.
This is
360.
in Steam now.
No, this is an Xbox 360.
Oh, okay.
I got the last achievement in Sonic Adventure 11 years after it came out. I got all apart from one achievement within 3 months of it coming out, and I spent about 30 hours trying to get it back in 2010. And I spent another 20 hours back in about 2016. And then I spent about 45 minutes earlier this week. Probably not even that. But yeah, less than half an hour. I did one lap of Emerald Coast, which you can probably see right now. This was my first recording of doing Emerald Coast as a warm-up, and I actually broke my PB, which I was quite surprised by because I made quite a lot of mistakes. And then it took me 4 or 5 attempts to get the last, is it either mission 54 or 53? They're the two hardest. I did one of them many years ago. I can't remember which one I was missing. I'm pretty sure it's 54. So it is the hardest thing in the known universe. Are you familiar with... I'm assuming you both played Sonic Adventure. It's a very fun game. I heard you say that earlier. Yeah.
Yes.
Have you played the mission mode in the DX version, the GameCube one?
Yes, to a degree. I haven't done all of them, but yeah.
Okay, so
I've only played it briefly. I didn't find the missions as much fun as, just working my way through the narrative and unlocking the characters, which is what I generally
not fun.
for.
They're not fun. They're horrible. So I got I got all 130 emblems many years ago, and I did 59 out of the 60 missions. And the last mission is you have to get a ring from a row of rings that is suspended about 50 meters above the end level capsule in Ice Cap as Sonic. Which basically means that when you go over a ramp on your snowboard and you hit A at the end to jump and you do the funny little trick and you get the animation, you go slightly further depending on how close you are to the end when you hit it. So the last 3 ramps in the level that are all kind of up above at the top of the hill, you have to hit all 3 of them perfectly. And then you go flying above everything. Then you collect one of these rings that's so far in the air you couldn't even see it before. And then you land. Now, the problem is, it's really, really, really hard to hit all 3 of those perfectly. And so 99% of the time, you just fall way short. The other problem is you can't actually hit all 3 of them perfectly. The 0.9% of the time you hit all 3 of them perfectly, you actually hit them so well that you actually go above the line of rings. So you have to get the 0.1% where you have got it 99% right. Because if you get it 98% right, then you're too short. And if you get it 100% right, then you go too long. So you've basically got to get 2 of them bang on and 1 of them almost bang on. And if you can do that, then you catch this ring in midair and then you land and it says, well done. And I'm about my 6th attempt or something. I got it and then it popped. I was like, this has been my most wanted achievement since 2010. And I got it. And I felt very, very happy about it.
So now you can put it away and never play it again.
I mean, obviously, I will play
start all over.
Yeah, I mean, I will happily start all over, but I don't want to do that. So yeah, because that wasn't on the Dreamcast copy, so it shouldn't count. That's where I picked up all my Sonic Adventure chops, was on the Dreamcast copy. Yeah. So anything that wasn't in there shouldn't have achievements associated with it. But alas, they did. However, now I've got it, and yeah, Sonic Adventure is now 100% next to my profile. I can die happy, and Kendrick can talk about the games he's been playing.
Well, I was going to say, now would be the perfect time for Microsoft to release some sort of handheld device onto which all of the VMU functions can be, you know, transferred, so that Sonic Adventure DX on the 360 can now support, external Chow raising.
I've already got all of the emblems for all of the Chow races without using a VMU to upgrade them, just by doing the really, really slow method, because I'm done now.
Okay.
Unless they start adding more achievements to Xbox 360 games, I'm done, and that seems
Yeah.
unlikely.
Yeah, I was going to say they're rapidly trying to move the market towards a system that nobody can buy.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. They had some in Curry's last week.
Did you buy one?
No.
Why not?
Because I just thrown all my money at a Steam Deck.
And a Playdate.
Well, you bought the Playdate afterwards.
Yeah, that's true.
So you bought
anyway.
you bought a new Switch, the only feature of which is something that you're going to hide behind a piece of plastic so you can't look at.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There's not a problem here. It's fine.
Yeah.
Kendrick.
Yes.
Tell us some games that you've been playing.
Well, you might be shocked to learn that I've been playing Yakuza 0 on the PC.
Have you now?
So
an episode of the podcast with Yakuza.
I am actually shocked. I didn't realize that you were playing them on PC now.
There was a sale recently, and I already owned a couple of them, and so I just filled out all of the Kiryu-centric games in the Steam library. And
sale on Steam?
I know, unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm very happily replaying, Kiryu and Majima's adventures in the 1980s before they became proper, gangsters. And something that I didn't expect is that having them on PC, I expected that I would get into, just mods and all kinds of like mischief with the game assets. And it turns out I'm not. I'm playing them pretty straight. But what's nice is that I've been trying for the longest time to get PlayStation 4 remote play working properly over really crappy American internet, which, as you can imagine, is not a very good combination. So having it on the brand new gaming laptop I got is the next best thing to having Yakuza ports on the Switch. It's not handheld, but I can take it with me. And I've been, for reasons we don't have to get into right now, I've been away from my house quite a bit more than you might expect during a pandemic. So having Yakuza there, just whenever I want to play it is really satisfying. I've noticed that I'm kind of min-maxing my way through, now that I know what's expected of me and what plot turns are coming. I'm kind of preparing for them better, which means, of course, that I'm falling into the same traps because I don't remember the stuff I got stuck on. Like the thing that I'm stuck on right now is that Majima has a escort mission where he has to avoid combat. A Yakuza mission where you have to avoid combat. How much sense does that make? So I've actually failed that a couple of times, and now I remember, oh, right, I have to have this and that and that other thing in order to be successful here. So anyway, Yakuza 0 on the PC, on Steam in particular. I'm probably not going to report on the fact that I'm going to be working my way through the other 6 games, on Steam as the opportunity warrants, because we've talked these games to death.
I have 2 questions for you.
Go for it.
Firstly, will you be getting a Steam Deck just so that you never have to go a second of your life without Yakuza more than arm's reach away?
I'm surprised that I have a serious answer to your question. I kind of have doubts. I didn't want to bring this up during the news thing because I didn't want to start a fight, but I kind of have doubts about whether or not the Steam Deck hardware is going to have any kind of durability. I'm worried about how well it's going to hold up to the rigors of just console game use, because even though I'm looking at my gaming laptop right now. Even though it's for games, it's also a computer, and I'm going to treat it like a computer, like the moderately valuable piece of consumer equipment that it is. Whereas with a game console, in the heat of the moment, I might actually throw the controller, or in the case of a handheld, I'll throw the whole system. I don't want to.
Don't do that.
I'm not proud of that, and I don't want to do that, but I've done it. So, but
It's an
all
wrist
jokes.
strap or something that you can have.
I don't know.
You just take the one off the Wii and just.
No, but seriously, I want a Steam Deck, but I don't want it bad enough that I'm willing to wait for the next hardware revision. I want to see
Yes.
how well these things hold up. I want to see how long they last. I want to be able to get one and have it last, and as opposed to getting one and knowing that it's only going to run for 24 months, which is
if they are lasting beyond when they finally fulfill all the pre-orders, then you're probably good to go. My second question is, because I've only played Yakuza 0 and you've played all 800 games and spin-offs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Is the first cutscene starring Majima the greatest cutscene in video game history?
You mean the one from the original first Yakuza game on the PS2?
No, from Yakuza 0. His reveal.
Okay, so spoilers. Well, spoilers for the beginning of the game. Majima's being punished by the Tojo clan.
That's not the one I'm referring to.
Oh, which one are you talking about?
He opens his club.
Yeah, where he opens his club and he has a disagreement with the guy.
Well, but we have to explain why he's there. He's running this club, but it's a punishment because he has to give all the money that he earns to his handler, and as a mechanism of training you how to do the heat combat moves. Majima is avoiding fighting with this guy who's raising a ruckus in the club, and by humiliating him, he ends up getting him to pay for everybody's drinks that night. Which and that is a really badass introduction for a character, particularly if you've never met him before.
I had never met him before, and I immediately, before I even got control of him or even knew he was going to be a playable character, thought, you are the coolest man I've ever seen on a video game ever.
And this is before he even gets his snakeskin jacket.
Yeah, I was going to say that impact is doubled for people who had met him in the previous 5 games, because his reputation does not match the presentation that you get in that opening of Yakuza 0. And it is glorious to behold in full 1080 on the PC screen as well. So anyway, okay, well, that's enough Yakuza. How many times has the klaxon gone off now?
Not enough.
I think it's just a permanent siren at the moment.
Right. Okay. So I have an all Sega report this month, because the next thing I wanted to talk about is Phantasy Star Online 2 / Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. I've played it a couple of times. I've put about 9 hours into it. I haven't liked it every time I played it. This past week, I decided to give it another fair shake just to see if there's anything fun, under the covers there. And I tried my damnedest, but it's not as fun as its predecessors. It is very much focused on MMO functions, which is to say, it's continuously nudging you to try and get you to play with other people, to the detriment of what little narrative is there. I don't know if the video's reached that point yet, but there's when you're just running around in the various areas trying to level up and trying to collect stuff. First of all, stuff respawns almost immediately, so there's almost no point in actually finishing any of the areas. You can just wait around for about 5 minutes, and then the box you opened before will magically reappear, and you can whack it again and get more loot out of it. Secondly, it takes so damn long to level up. It's like the balance between rewarding you for playing and getting you to be motivated to play more is so skewed in Phantasy Star Online 2. And I thought a little bit about this, and I did some research, and I did not know, I don't think, before this week that Sonic Team was not involved in the development of PSO2. It's a separate, newer team in Sega that's imaginatively named Online R&D. And what they've done is they've taken all the color schemes and all of the design components and all of the graphical assets and all of the sound effects. The sound effects are really disorienting because they come from all the old games. And they put it into what is, I'm forced to admit, is a really generic MMO template. And that makes me really sad because I really wanted to like this game. I really wanted to play it 10 years ago when it was new. I really want to play it now, but I'm just not having fun. And I've been struggling because, in all humility, I want to go, is the problem me? No, the problem's not me. No. And so I don't know why there's hundreds of other players around, leveling up and doing the MMO thing, except that, maybe they have even worse taste in games than Decay does. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you ever listen to.
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever listen to the Giant Bombcast, which is another podcast that isn't this one, but don't listen to that one. Listen to this one.
Okay.
But
Jeff podcast.
Yeah, Jeff Gersman routinely says exactly the same thing as you. He seems to play a lot of PSO. He really wants it to be good, and it never is.
And by PSO, you mean this specific iteration, PSO2?
Yeah, this specific iteration. Yeah, he was playing it back when he didn't understand what anything was saying, because it was all in Chinese. And but he seems to have much the same opinion of why isn't this good.
Well, I wish I could say it was satisfying to be validated, but it's really not, because, I want this thing to be so much better. At least I didn't have to pay for it. At least it's a free to play MMO, and it's anyway. So what am I doing instead? I'm playing the original game. I'm playing the original Phantasy Star Online, which was released on PC in 2001. And it's kind of a bear getting it to run on Windows 10, but we'll gloss over that for the moment. But anyway, I'm not really playing.
Where's your fancy new gaming laptop now?
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because I was, I broke out one of my older laptops that was previously running Windows 7, and I upgraded it in a hurry to get it all patched up so that my son could play, because he was watching me play, and he, in his inimitable way, was kind of nudging me, saying, I want to go. And he's not 4 years old yet, so he can't talk, but he was very clear that he wanted to play. And now this is his reward for, not doing chores. He's not 4 years old yet. He doesn't do chores, but his reward for behaving is sitting and playing, a half hour of Phantasy Star Online. And he can't read yet, so he doesn't know what in the heck is going on. He just sees, pretty graphics and big giant bears. So what I'm doing is, after he goes to bed, I go and I clean up his inventory, and I level up his mag, and I, level up his character so that he can, be an unstoppable, whatever in the normal difficulty mode.
You're the modern version of the Shoemaker's Elves.
Yes, exactly.
You're PSO Santa.
There is one thing that I wanted to mention that I'm doing here that is kind of new to me. Do you remember that there were homebrew Phantasy Star Online servers that people were able to connect to after the official Sega servers were shut down?
But they're still around, are they? With the Dream?
Yeah. They are still around, and people can still build them and connect to a central one where they can play with other strangers, randoms all over the world. It's not quite as popular to make your own, but I only learned recently that I think his name is Martin Mickelson, is the fellow who wrote the original homebrew server all the way back in 2012. I think it was, and he was like 11 years old at the time. I didn't know that. Anyway, he's
So you've been getting your son to do it now. That's
anyway. This Mickelson fella, he 2 years ago, after having worked in real software development for a few years, decided to go back to the PSO server that he wrote, and it was full of bugs, and it didn't do multi-core functionality. There was something in the code that caused it to crash after 48 hours of continuous operation. So he went and he refactored it and he rebuilt the entire code base from the ground up. Decay, you'll be interested to hear this. His new version of the PSO server runs on Ubuntu and on Mac OS, but notably not on Windows. And the reason that he stated was that he can't be bothered to test it on Windows because, he just doesn't care. But he cared enough to make it work on Mac OS.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it runs on Linux, it's relatively trivial to get it running on Mac OS. But that's interesting. But I ain't playing Phantasy Star.
Yeah, the most likely way I'm playing PSO is if I can be bothered setting up a Dream Pie, which I can't, and then I'd be too distracted playing like Toy Commander and stuff. Choo Choo Rocket.
Yeah. So anyway, the main thing that I've been playing, just to round out the Sega, set. We call it in the States Sega Rally Revo. This is the thing that came out on PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360 all the way back in 2007.
We just call it Sega Rally, don't we?
Yes. In Europe, it was only called Sega Rally, and it was developed by a studio known as Sega Racing Studios, which was unceremoniously shut down in 2008. And, observe that gap carefully. Release a game in 2007, make the arcade version of it, which was Sega Rally 3, get shut down in 2008, and everybody was angry until we understood that what was happening was they were shut down so that Codemasters could pick up all the labor and all the dev kits, but not all of the Sega assets. So all the people who were part of Sega Racing Studios were picked up by Codemasters and, got to stay employed. They just couldn't take any of the Sega with them.
Like the wonderful Defamation Tech.
Yeah. So anyway, it's been almost 15 years since this game was released, and it's kind of occupying the same place in my heart that Virtua Fighter 2 does now, because I really enjoy it. I don't get a chance to just sit for a few hours and zone out playing it. I feel like I've finally gotten good at it, and I don't know if you recall that I spent some time playing the PSP version, and I, got all the achievements and I finished it up, but it's on the PSP, so it's not really I don't think that you could even charitably describe it as realistic on the PSP. It's, just basically, left, right, break. But, Sega Rally, this version of it is really, it does that Sega thing where it's splitting it straight down the middle of arcade fun and realistic simulation. It's not too much of the one, it's not too much of the other. And I finally gotten confident enough in my virtual driving abilities to start playing the actual real championship mode. And I think you need to get 360 driver points to, unlock all of the stages and unlock all of the vehicle, types and paint jobs. And after 5 weeks of playing, I've gotten 18 of those points. So I really
You've still a way to go before you beat Zoe's Sonic Adventure, though. So.
Yeah.
I think I've only got like 70 achievement points from this game, which I got back in 2000 and whatever it was.
How do you remember this?
Because
you obsessively review your gamer score.
He's got a
every
big
night.
spreadsheet in front of him. Yeah,
I've got a True Achievements account. I know exactly what's on it. I know what I've done. Some things I'm proud of. Some things I'm not proud of. We don't need to go there.
So anyway, back in the 1930s when we were talking about de novo, I promised you more copy protection, digital rights management discussion. Sega Rally Revo on the PC is one of those games that uses secure ROM and this mechanism of protecting games is no longer supported in the latest build of Windows 10. And that's because there is no current secure ROM development, and there are a couple of really nasty security vulnerabilities in it. The root access type, 0-day type, and so if you try to install a game that requires secure ROM to validate your DVD to play the game, Windows 10 immediately disables the service and immediately deletes the DLL, and you can't play the game. And Sega Rally is one of those games that's not available on any of the online services. You can't buy it on Steam. You can't buy it on GOG. You can't buy it, on Epic. It's not available anywhere. So my usual thing of, hey, I want the physical media so I can always play the game, but under normal circumstances, I'm going to have a Windows XP machine lying around to be able to play it.
Have you got an Xbox 360? I've got a physical version.
I've got the 360 disc and I've got the PS3 disc, so that's but that's not the point. I want to play it on this gaming laptop, which is the first hardware that I've ever had that would be able to run it properly, without getting into details and things which are against the news group charter. What I had to do was
Luffer's just reminding us of that fact.
Yeah. I had to mix and match files from the US version of the game and the European version of the game, both of which I legitimately own. If anybody ever wants to see the receipt and the actual physical disc, I am fully licensed to play this game. But
it's a backup of the game that you own, so it's okay. It's not a pirate copy; it's a backup.
Yeah.
No, it's not even a backup. I installed everything legitimately off the DVD that I bought.
As long as it deletes it after 24 hours, it's fine.
Yeah, I downloaded a lot of backups for my legitimate games from the binary groups back in the day. It's perfectly fine. I saw a disclaimer.
The statute of limitations
anyway, it's fine. Yeah,
and even if it were, the statute of limitations has let up since 2003 or whenever it was that you were.
Well, the thing is, the police in this country have said that they no longer investigate historical cases. So anything that's happened in the past, they don't bother doing anything about anymore. So
so that explains Prince Andrew then.
Yeah,
sorry,
it explains everything. Yeah.
My views are my own, and I do not represent the news group or anybody else. Right.
So I've not played Sega Rally since 2008 or whatever it was, and I don't know how many fancy modern day racing games you've played, but I remember playing Sega Rally back in the day, and all I would do was drive a lap, and then when I came around for lap 2, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's where I drove before. I made that little dent. Does it still have that kind of weird sense of wonder because of just the novelty of the fact that you can mangle up the track and then it stays?
Oh yeah. I mean, this iteration of Sega Rally has a lot of environmental damage. I mean, obviously, and we've talked at length about this before. You can't damage the car because there are, likeness licensing issues related to that. So you can, crash headlong into a baobab tree and it won't dent your bumper. But here in the, African savannah, there are fences and houses and, barriers and, wooden posts, and you can knock them all over. And they're still knocked over the next time you come around for the next lap, and it's great. I'm a pretty messy rally driver in the game. It's like when I watch the replay, I'm hanging the back end out a lot more than the other drivers. But on the other hand, I'm taking more risks, so I get ahead of them more often than not now. If I were a real rally driver, I would end every stage with like half a spectator sticking out of my radiator grill. It's like I knock down a lot of crap when I'm playing the game. But yes, to answer your question, that feature of it is still there, and it's still wondrous. And,
Question 2: is it good? In my head, it's quite good, but it's the 4th best console Sega Rally game I own. Is that still the case?
Well, what do you prefer about the others? Would be my question.
To be honest, I just kind of think in my head they've all got kind of progressively worse. Sega Rally on Saturn is the absolute pinnacle. Sega Rally 2 is on Dreamcast. Is a step down because it's just not as fun, and I can't put my finger on why it's not as fun. It's just not as fun. Biggest reasons. And then the Sega Rally Online Arcade, the 360 game, which is a not particularly good attempt at a port of the arcade/Saturn version, and then the
Well,
Sega Rally / Revo,
yeah.
which is a kind of like an almost a more serious, less stupid arcade version, which is good, but it's kind of not what I come to Sega Rally for.
The game that we're talking about, Revo, is more serious and less arcadey, and one of the reasons I like that is because you don't have to be you're not continuously chasing the checkpoint, so that I'm sorry, I've forgotten, what coin do you put into an arcade machine? Is it a 10p?
No,
In
50,
Sega Rally, it's a pound coin.
Yeah, 50p or a pound coin, definitely.
No, but it's like the whole point of the old arcade games was you have to chase the checkpoint, and if you don't hit it, you have to put in another coin to keep playing. And that's kind of annoying in a home port, because you just want to drive, and in the the latest Sega Rally, that's no longer a factor. You catch up or you don't. Um, I think it's still good, but I'm also not as in love with the old Sega Rally games as I would have claimed to have been 10 years ago. The first Sega Rally on the Saturn, and in the arcades, it was masterful, and it communicated the feeling of being a rally driver, I think, much better than any more serious rally game at the time. Even taking into account stuff like the Colin McRae and the V Rally games. It's like Sega Rally was just emotionally correct in a way that those games weren't. The Sega Rally Online Arcade, the one that was out on the 360 and the PS3, that is supposed to be a port of Sega Rally 3, the arcade game, which was developed at the same time as Revo. And I think it uses a lot of the same assets. And annoyingly, because of some of the licensing and rights issues that are in place now, it's been delisted from both of those online stores. And it's been delisted for about, I think, 7 or 8 years now. So you can't get that game anymore. Revo is the only one, is the only thing left out of that. And for various reasons, a lot of people can't even play that.
Yeah. Can we not just have a straight port of the Saturn version with achievements?
They haven't got the source code anymore.
Well, okay, we came close to that because there was a PlayStation 2 release of the initial Sega Rally game.
There was, yes, that ran at 60 FPS.
Yes,
it never came out over here, I don't think.
No, it was Japan only. Yeah. But the fact that like every other release on PSN now that's intended to run on the PS4 and by extension on the PS5 is an old PS2 game that's had trophies, kind of nailed to the side of it, makes me hopeful that someday Sega will look back at their old library and go, "Oh, hey, we haven't touched Sega Rally 2 in a while. Why don't we put that on the on the store and see how well that sells?"
Yeah, because they did it with Knights. It was just a straight copy of the Saturn one with achievements bolted in it.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Daytona, the port of Daytona that they did for the last generation, is still available. It's still available to download on PS3 if you want it. But
it's not very good though, and I'm going to take my my Sega fanboy card and leave. But Daytona is not very good.
You mean just in general, or that port in particular?
No, just in general. Like compared to Sega Rally, Crazy Taxi,
I think
Outrun. Why would you play Daytona? It's just
because
bad.
you can press the start button on the arcade machine when you're going underneath the spinning numbers, like the 777.
The slot machine.
You can press the start button in the slot machine. Yeah.
Yeah, but in Manx TT Superbike on Saturn, you can ride sheep. That's way more fun.
We seem to have drifted away from our topic here. No pun intended.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, would you rather ride sheep or turn left?
Well, remember, Daytona had generalized touring car courses as well, so you turned left and right.
Yeah.
No, but I get where you're coming from with Daytona, because Daytona is, from a pure motorsport appreciation perspective, it is less varied than anything rally derived. But anyway, okay, so well, that's Sega Rally Revo, and that's everything I've been playing.
Very good. Very Sega, isn't it?
Fanboy.
Have we got a listener?
We do have a listener, yeah. Before we get on to that, so if anybody who is watching or listening would like to ask us a question, now is the time to do it. I just wanted to say, because we're talking about driving games and licensing of driving games, one piece of news that was today, I think, Forza Motorsport 7 is being delisted on, I think, the 21st of September. Yes.
What?
Yes. To do with licensing of the cars, apparently.
Does that mean they're going to take it off Game Pass as well?
I would imagine they would have to.
Probably have to come off there. Yeah.
Good thing
So I'd imagine the situation is the same with other things at the moment, whereby if you've already bought it digitally, you can still re-download it, but you won't be able to purchase it if you don't. So, but yeah, I mean, how old is that? It's only what, 5 years old, 4 years old?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So it will. So this Horizon. When was Horizon 4? That was Horizon 4 was 3 years ago. Yeah, so 4 years ago.
Well, I mean, the contracts that some of the car manufacturers write for these things, they're written on tissue paper, and they're meant to expire quickly. And I have a lot more understanding of this than I'm supposed to, because my wife works for a car insurance company here in the States, and one of the things that you always have to be conscious of is that the car makers, the people who manufacture the cars, they want to drive new sales. And if you're looking at a market like, say, Western Europe or America, where traditional coupe and saloon cars are being rapidly phased out in favor of, gigantic pointless SUVs, then likenesses for your interesting, sexy, sporty cars aren't really going to drive those sales. So you have to keep that in mind, that the licensing agreements are, if you're a car maker, you're always in the back of your head going, how many more sales is this going to get me? So I'm not saying that's why this whole game is being, delisted, but certainly that was, on somebody's mind when they wrote the initial agreement that had this expiration date at the end of it.
When I play one of these games, I drive the best car that I can afford until I'm about 4 or 5 hours in and can afford a Lamborghini Aventador, and then I'm basically set. So it really doesn't matter. Put in whatever.
Yeah, there's 150 cars, but you only drive 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a path, like in the first Gran Turismo, Nissan Skyline and Mitsubishi GTO. Like the other cars didn't matter. There was no point.
I'm kind of like that in the newer Sega Rally games. I will drive whatever's available to me, but eventually I'll just settle on the Subaru Impreza, and I just drive that around every track.
Yeah, like Sega Rally on the Saturn, the Delta's pointless. You drive the Celica until you unlock the Stratos, and then because it's taken you 20 hours of failing miserably at the Lakeside track to unlock the Stratos, you then drive it for the rest of time just because you earn it, even though it handles like an arse, just on principle.
You need to have the wheel. You need to use the wheel to be successful in Sega Rally.
You can get your wheel out now. Oh yeah.
Oh, I've got one of those. Oh, hang on. Actually, I might even have it in here. No, I don't. Oh well, never mind.
Now we've started doing video podcasts. Now I've moved from the house where we've started doing this.
Are you suggesting we're going to do more of these?
Well, no. Okay.
Oh my god!
Before we did the podcast when I lived in
you
my
can't see
house,
Toby, but he's going.
Yeah, which had a massive game room where I was surrounded with all my games, and it was beautiful. And now my game room is less than a third of the size that it was before, and I'm in a new house, and I'm sitting in my home office, and I don't have any games to show. Whereas before it would have been nice. Whereas now I'm just like
we all have to make life choices.
I'm basically at work.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. We do have some listener questions.
Delightful.
Would you believe? So they're all from Luffer though. So I think everybody else has died.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is good. Shut up.
Oh no, we got one from Jamie as well. Right, here we go. So I'll pick and choose some of these. A couple of these might be okay. Here we go. So if you have to abandon all consoles apart from one, but had access to the full game library, which console would you pick?
That is easy. Xbox Series X.
mainly because you get all of the Xbox 360 ones and Xbox One ones and everything. I think that's cheating. That's cheating. But even though I don't have any of those, I think I'd probably agree simply because of the fact that it would have all the 360 games on there, and the 360 library was one of the best. So.
I struggle with this one because I have my Dreamcast is still connected to my video switcher and occupies button number 1. And it's my go-to for when I, don't know what I want to play, but I have some spare time. But I've recently rediscovered my love for the Mega Drive, the Genesis games that I own, and I think part of my problem with this question is that I functionally do own the entire American libraries for both the Dreamcast and the Genesis. So I don't know that it would be. Well, no, I know it would be not worthwhile for me to have the whole libraries for any other console that I have because I've specifically made choices about not owning those whole libraries. So if you had to hold a gun to my head and make me pick, I would probably go Dreamcast because, that would be more chance to play Phantasy Star Online, wouldn't it?
That is the correct answer. And unpopular gaming opinion, games got properly good when they went 3D.
You know what you need to do? You need to get one of those motors that they use for the shade, the motorized shade that goes up the back of a Mercedes windshield.
Yeah. Okay. Jamie has a question, and he says, Sony and Microsoft have been buying everyone they can for the last 3 years. Is this reasonable consolidation or stripping the field of potential interesting games due to death by corporate committees?
Yes.
Related to that, I see Sumo have been bought by Tencent.
Yes. Yeah. Microsoft and Sony are buying everybody they can get their hands on to stop them slipping into the hands of the Chinese.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know. I don't think that's true either. I was just making a flippant comment.
No.
Okay.
It's sort of slipping into the hands of the competitor, surely.
Yeah.
If Microsoft don't buy it, Sony might. And Microsoft don't want Sony too, surely.
For the most part, they seem to have been buying studios that, to be honest, I thought they already owned. I was very surprised that Sony didn't own Housemarque, that Sony didn't own Bluepoint, that Microsoft didn't own... who makes Forza Horizon? I've forgotten their name.
Those guys.
Playground.
Or whoever it is.
No, Playground.
Yeah, but to your point, though, a lot of these studios are functionally just making games for one system or under contract for the console maker. It's like you're never going to see a Forza port for the PlayStation 5, by way of example. But I think what Jamie, this is Jamie's question, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I think what Jamie's forgotten is that there are a bunch of indie developers who are, filling a niche that has gone unfulfilled for the longest time. And so the idea of these big studios being owned by the big console makers, that doesn't really matter to us at the ground level because they're going to keep making the games that they're making anyway. And for guys like us, we own one of every console already, so it doesn't really affect the availability of those titles for us. I'm not, but to answer the question, I'm not worried about consolidation until those indie developers start getting picked up. When somebody goes and I'm struggling to name one now. But when somebody, when somebody goes there and says, "Hey, come work for us and come make games only for us," and those people start saying yes, that's when I start worrying about consolidation not being sensible anymore.
No. I mean, the way I'm kind of trying to see it is if you look at how Sony first-party games turn out and Microsoft first-party games turn out, and then you kind of think most independent developers will need a publisher of some kind. Microsoft and Sony are less... I mean, obviously, they want money and they want return, but they've got different priorities on what money and return means than if you're being published by EA or Ubisoft or Activision. Like, they can be a loss leader for a service like Game Pass. Like, I don't think that... Like, if Naughty Dog were run by Activision, they wouldn't be given 20 years and a limitless budget like they are at Sony, because they're basically seen as a flagship to push platform sales. And so they're basically given whatever resources they want. And so if anybody is going to be buying these developers, I would rather it be the platform holders than any of the other big name publishers, so they can be turned into, like, EA have bought Codemasters, and it's just going to be 300 Need for Speed games full of loot boxes every year. And like whoever Ubisoft buys, it's going to be a game where you go up towers and you unlock bits on the map, and then you tick boxes, and it's 150 hours, and isn't that great? And at least with Microsoft and Sony, they can buy studios and say, here's a load of money, go innovate, make something really good to sell our system. It doesn't even need to sell 20 million copies. It just has to have something that makes people want to buy our system. And that's fine because they can afford to do that. And I would rather, if anybody is going to be buying these developers, I'd rather it was those two.
As opposed to some government entity that is perhaps an arm of the Saudi Arabian or Chinese government. But
well, yeah, that as well. Like kind of even ignoring whatever ethics may or may not come of being bought by Tencent or Amazon or Google or whatever. I would just having seen what the first party studios of the two like major platform holders have been putting out compared to the other three big publishers, I would rather that those two were acquiring this talent than EA were buying them to do what they did with Maxis or Westwood or whoever else they've killed off.
Yeah. Do you want God of Wars? Because this is how you get God of Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Gods of War.
Yeah.
But are we saying so? So part of the question was: is it stripping the field of potential interesting games? So are we saying, or are you saying, that if these companies are bought up by Microsoft or by Sony, or because nobody's mentioned it, Nintendo, but they don't tend to buy many people, are we saying that they are more likely to come up with interesting, unusual games than if they weren't bought up, simply because of the fact that they have a bigger company with bigger backing that wants a bigger range of games or game types for their platform, rather than, as you said, Ubisoft basically making the same game 3 times a year?
Yeah, right now I'm going to say yes. I can't guarantee that will always be the case, but right now, yes.
And I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't see that their output is going to change, a whole lot just based on who owns them. I mean, if for if we're very lucky, what happens is there's cross pollination. The different studios get to trade talent and design sensibilities, like what they're doing at Ubisoft for emergency purposes. But that's a different discussion.
Okay. Right, we'll take this as the last question then, and this is from Trooper Looper, who has appeared out of nowhere from the dark ages of the news group, and he says, should we be boycotting Blizzard games, or does that hurt the good everyday folks who work there more than the horrible folks? PS, hello guys, been a while. So obviously we talked about this a bit before, and he's right in that yes, if you don't buy the games, the people don't have the jobs. But obviously, the only way to incite change at some of these companies is with your wallet. So,
well, Zoe, would you like to take this on first, or should I?
I mean, as somebody who doesn't like MMOs, fantasy, or sci-fi, I don't play any Blizzard games, so this is a very, very easy decision for me to make because I would rather set fire to my own face than play a Warcraft or Starcraft or Diablo game. So it's really nice and easy. I don't have to have any ethical dilemmas. I mean, when it comes to FIFA release time every year, I have an ethical dilemma and then I buy it. So I'm just a hypocrite, really. But
I think the same. It's pretty, in Blizzard's case specifically, it's pretty easy for me to completely avoid them whether I want to or not. The only game from them that I can think of that I've actually played and enjoyed in any way at all has been Diablo 3, and I already own that, so I don't need to give them any more money for it. But if we were to say, for example, if the same situation had occurred, and it seems likely maybe that it may be to some extent at, say, Bethesda, I would find that a bit harder to put away all the games that I like that they will be making. it's kind of a similar thing to the separating the art from the artist thing, isn't it? The artist did a bad thing, but the game is really good. But I want to play the game, but I don't want to reward the artist.
A couple of years ago, there were similar accusations at Quantic Dream. So, like, how are you going to play Heavy Rain 2?
With my feet, I think, because I'm sure that's probably how David Cage would like me to play it.
Now, I have what I think is different viewpoint. Gee, try to contain your shock, because I am actively involved in a boycott right now, but for different reasons. I haven't bought anything from EA, from Electronic Arts, since I think about 1998. And
what about FIFA? You've missed a lot of FIFAs.
No, I haven't. I've missed nothing. No, but I in the 80s, when they were a bastion of artistic expression and independent development, I really liked EA and the stuff that they released for the 8-bit home computers at the time. But right around 1990s,
like Dark Castle.
well, and the original geometric puzzle game Worms, and then like they also published I don't know if you remember, they were the games for the Apple II and the Commodore 64 that came in these big elaborate gatefold packages, and they were great, and they were really evocative, and they that was part of the experience of not just playing the game but having this product experience. Anyway, cut a long story short, I perceived that EA was actively blocking me from getting the games that I wanted to get. Not me personally, but stuff like the American football game licensing, which is, so as you've pointed out, was a mutual agreement, but that doesn't change the fact that it was that EA was at the center of that. But also a lot of the PC games that they were releasing just before they revived the corpse of Origin as their streaming service, as their online distribution service. A lot of the PC games that they've poorly maintained, where they would release patches that didn't actually patch anything, and they would release new editions of games that had no new content. It was just the old game with like a
Legacy edition.
Exactly, and it,
that shambles of a SimCity game that released a few years ago on.
Oh yeah, the one with all the online engagement. It's
Dungeon
like
Keeper Mobile.
There you go. And this is a thing that they repeat. This is a behavior that's endemic to the whole company. And so, I haven't bought an EA game for about 25 years now. But that's about that, the product's no good, and that there's a lot of product out there. There are a lot of games that I could be spending my money on. And if I'm given the choice, I'm going to, go with somebody else's content. Now, I don't imagine for a minute that I've impacted EA's bottom line in any way. They're not missing my yearly $60 every year just because I'm not buying FIFA. So, but with that in mind, I'm in kind of the same boat that the two of you are in. I don't own or regularly play a lot of Activision Blizzard's products right now, and I've considered it in the past, but I don't feel like that Activision has mistreated me as a customer. And I feel like that's what would drive a boycott more than, oh, you're mistreating your employees and you're fostering a abusive and, a bad work environment. I'm not sure that a boycott is quite the right way to deal with that. Not for the reasons that Trooper Looper is saying, because again, my little expenditure isn't going to make a big difference to their bottom line. So I guess the follow-up question to that would be, not to extend this discussion past where it's comfortable, but what is an effective way for us as consumers to effect change at Activision Blizzard? How do we how do we make ourselves known to them and say, hey guys, what you're doing is not cool. You need to stop it if you want to, keep doing business. Because as we've learned from the physical media, fights, voting with your wallet is not always effective or even heard.
I mean, it works for a short period, as Xbox One demonstrated. So, like, it will work until about 5 years later when everybody's ready for it, and then they come back. I mean, the Modern Warfare 2 boycott Steam group demonstrated that a boycott can be very, very effective. You just buy the game and pretend nothing ever happened.
Yeah, but as we've observed in the past, gamers have very short memories, and they want to play what they want to play. So
I mean, it's just I wish there was something you could say that was better than don't buy it if it makes you feel bad. It's not going to change anything because most people don't care because most people are terrible.
Well,
so Truth Paloopa's just provided his own possible suggestion, but he says social media outcry seems to be the only way, but that has its own problems.
I mean, social media outcry definitely works until everybody on social media has forgotten about it, which usually takes about a day. So great.
That's true. Yeah.
If everybody can not, you just have to do it every single day.
And I hate observing this, but the mistreatment of women at Activision Blizzard is not something that affects me directly. I'm angry about it for sure. I wish it didn't happen. I wish that it were better for the sake of all the people who have been impacted. And lest we forget, this mistreatment caused at least one suicide, which has been widely reported. And it's terrible, but I'm not, as a customer, empowered to fix that. And I guess this is where we get partial credit for that feeling of outrage is going to drive you to say, what can I do? What can I do to help? What can I do to fix it? And that's a perfectly noble motivation. And I don't know that we can crack that nut. I don't know that we have a solution that we can suggest just between the three of us in this 2-hour podcast.
It's hard to be involved unless you're involved. It's hard to enact change unless you're in a position to enact change. So it's convincing the other people who do have the power to do such a thing to do such a thing.
Didn't you end up with that? You ended up with that ridiculous situation a year or two ago where at BlizzCon they were getting up on stage saying "Free Hong Kong," and then in China they were like banning Hong Kong streamers for saying on like Hearthstone streams that they were pro Hong Kong. So basically, they'll just tell whatever market happens to be listening at the time or what they want to hear.
Yeah. And just burn it all to the ground and just start again.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting with Bobby Kotick.
Well, we've acknowledged is we can't fix it, but we want it to be fixed, and we don't know how to get there. So
yes, yeah.
Okay. Well, what a delightfully optimistic note to close on.
It is, yeah.
Can we close on something better? Can we just go back to all saying Sonic Adventure is a really fun game because that was really positive and nice.
Can I make the Yaksa klaxon go off again?
Are you dissing Sonic Adventure? You like Sonic Adventure?
No, I'm not. No, that was a reference to something. No, it's fine. Anyway, that's it. And thank you for all joining us for our first and possibly last video podcast. I'd like to say a very big thank you for everything that Toby's been doing behind the scenes. Anything you've seen where anything changes and videos come in and go out again and everything, that's very much appreciated. We here can't really see everything he's done, so he may just have had I'm with stupid arrows pointing at Zoe.
Oh, I've had floppy dog ears this whole time.
For all we know, he fell asleep 2 hours ago.
Well, that's entirely possible as well. We'll soon find out if the stream finishes when we ask him to finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst thing about doing this on video is I can't fall asleep during segments that aren't mine anymore. I've got to look enthused and engaged.
Yeah, there's no pretending anymore. In fact, okay, so we did say you haven't been on the podcast in 9 months, but you may as well have been for some of those. We could have said you were there, and but it is nice to have you back on. Thank you very much.
Yes, welcome back.
So yes, thank you for the two of you for joining me. And next time we will be back to normal with an audio only. This was a special for us celebrating 50 episodes. That's 50 episodes. What, 4 years or something we've been doing this now? Which
I can't think of anything
like
in
madness.
real life I've done 50 of. I mean,
I mean, it's 51, really, isn't it?
well, we had a pilot.
It is
but
51,
yeah. So
Yeah.
the maths aren't important. The importance is the celebration.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Cable.
I feel like we should have worn party hats or something.
Should have done. Anyway,
Cheers.
so we will say our goodbyes. And yes, cheers. We will say our goodbyes. If you would like to send us comments or questions, then you can put it in the actual comment.
We've got comments
that way, over there somewhere. Yeah, click like and subscribe and the bell. I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, the bell. Yeah.
It's like, subscribe, or the other way around, whatever they are. Not there'll be anything to look at if you do such a thing, but it will make us feel better that some people may have actually looked. So if you would like to send us comments and questions and you're not going to put them in there, then you can do so. You can email podcast@ugvm.org.uk, or you can send us messages on Twitter @UGVM podcast. If you would like to contact me individually on Twitter, you can. That's at DK01. Zoe, you've gone from Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not really on Twitter anymore. I kind of look at it occasionally because it gives me Leeds United news faster than everywhere else. But
that's probably for the best. Jamie saying you can hand out your OnlyFans instead.
Okay, you can hand out my OnlyFans. It's $100 a month starting price. That is just like basic spanking and pick ratings. If you want anything further than that, it's more.
I thought it was just going to be headset reviews, and that was it.
No, but it's nice to be back. So if you contact me in the comments, or if you message UGVM podcast, then I'm sure Andy will pass on any messages you have to tell me how lovely you think I am, and I will be back on this podcast again because I've had a nice time.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear. Very good. Yes, and Kendrick.
I invite you to visit www.gamesx.com, where we discuss the repair and preservation of retro game systems.
And toast racks.
Well, yes.
Mm-hmm.
How do you preserve a toast rack?
I don't know. You plasti dip it or something? I don't know.
No.
Probably. Anyway, so we're going to say goodbye now, and Toby is hopefully going to press the big button that says stop the recording once we have all said goodbye. So, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.